So I'm actually on my way into the office, and actually, let me see if I get more light. Nah. But I like to use this time to really just kind of, rant, talk about other things that I've learned this week as far as MSIgnite. So last week was Microsoft Ignite Conference. I didn't make the conference, but I was able to. The great thing about it is I was able to consume the videos, which, from a logistics standpoint, though I didn't get a chance to meet a lot of the people that I met online, or a lot of the friends and vendors that I met along the way, just being in SharePoint for 12 years and IT for 15, 16 years. So the social piece wasn't there, but I think as far as consuming the information, I actually like the remote factor better, only because you can really focus on, you get a bird's eye view of the different sessions, right? And you don't have to worry about being too far from the screen, or in an uncomfortable chair, or smushed in next to someone to distract you from the presentation or the information at hand. So I actually prefer all of the videos, and it's very cool that they put them all on YouTube. I think it's just from a mobility standpoint, it makes it easier to consume. Just because the platform is really optimized for video playlists and all this other good stuff. But I mean, as a SharePoint developer and architect, I think that it's one of the things that I just kept hearing, the theme, right, was one, artificial intelligence. Of course, they're pushing the cloud, and mobility, right? So I think from a mobile standpoint, from a consumer standpoint, you know this, I know this, that mobile is king, hands down, right? I don't know the last time just to consume personal information or entertainment type information, I'm tied to a laptop. It's my mobile device, or it's a tablet, or whatever the case may be. And, looking at the younger generation, they're probably 95% mobile, right? I mean, looking at my children and my cousins, my nephews, and all those, the Gen or Millennium, whatever generation, they're calling them, those guys are 100% mobile. So, majority mobile, and that's just trickling down to the business aspect. And I think from a business perspective, really depending on your role, that's going to be more so now than ever before, because more business people are mobile. More business people are, especially like sales reps and those who travel outside the office, interact with the office, they're all mobile. But then even inside the office, I mean, think about all the meetings that you have. How often are you at your desk compared to in meetings, right? And you may not tug around the laptop. You may be in a scenario where you only have a desktop and it's just your mobile device, right? And I think I think that's driving that. Just the one that we're in a bunch of meetings, we're hardly at our desk, so having things, the intranet, your OneDrive, and all that stuff available on your mobile device, phone, this other good stuff only makes sense. It just makes it more convenient to where you don't have to go back to your desk and look at the intranet, find a document, check email. Most of the time, email is available via mobile. I think the other driver, right, is really from a corporation standpoint. Believe it or not, I think we're going back to the desktop cube model, right, where you're getting rid of the laptops, and they're not going with the heavy, thick desktop, but I think they're going with the virtual PC, to where you just have like a dumb terminal. It's funny how everything comes back full circle, right? Because like with the mainframe, that's exactly what you had. You had a dumb terminal, and then all the information was on that mainframe in the data center, or yada yada yada. Now it's going to be a dumb terminal, because really all you need is a window pane. Everything is just cloud and internet ready. That all you really need is a window pane into that environment, right? And the more flexible you can be as far as accessing that environment from the various clients, right, to that host, just the more flexibility that you have, the more convenient it is for you to have. So I think the days of toting around heavy laptops and heavy, thick power supplies and all this other good stuff, I think that's trickling away, especially because we don't need all that power locally. So I think the business is just finally going to get on board what has taken off and sparked the fire on the consumer standpoint. Mostly because most employees or business employees, executives, managers, directors are part of the consumer market. So we just bringing that behavior over into the business world. And then I think from a corporation standpoint, it's cheaper for them not to have to refresh these PCs, renew these PCs, always get all this hardware and all this other good stuff on a 3-year, 4-year cycle. It makes sense that, hey, if you have a laptop and we have the right security in place, bring your own device. If you have a mobile device and you want to get connected, not only to email, because they usually make that available pretty easily, but now it's going to be, the intranet, and now here are apps that you can use to, approve or submit a request and all this other good stuff. It's all going to be mobile. So, to bring your own device is just going to be cheaper for corporations to implement that. So I just see a lot of that trickling in from the SharePoint world, and as a SharePoint developer and as an architect, I think it's critical to understand why mobile first is the way to go, why this client-side development is the way to go, and it just and when you go in the cloud, that's where you're going to be forced to do. That's where Microsoft is moving with the modern UI for document libraries, site content, modern pages, modern lists. All that is mobile first, right? Mobile friendly, responsive design. And then they came out with the SharePoint app. So now they're intranet in the pocket. That's what they're trying to coin that from a marketing standpoint. That only makes sense. It makes it more convenient. So any piece that you develop, it has to be friendly on the mobile, right? If SharePoint as a platform is going to be mobile friendly and going to have an app to consume that information, all the pages and web parts and all that stuff that you create should be mobile friendly. It only makes sense, right? So, all that to say is that the skill set that's needed is drastically different compared to, the C#, the WSPs, the development cycle and all this other good stuff is different. But looking at just playing around with the SharePoint development framework, and I started this probably 4 weeks ago, I'm seeing that it's actually not that bad. I think the bridge between, especially with JavaScript and TypeScript, right? And this is before you determine which framework you want to settle on, React, Knockout, Angular, or whatever the case may be. Before you get to that point, even just the TypeScript and the JavaScript alone really kind of makes you feel somewhat at home in as you would have in a C# environment, a C# WSP environment. So I think those parallels, that parity is there. I think it's just a matter of looking at it a little bit different. But I know, and I think that's the development side of it. The other piece, and this is the one area that I really want to come up to speed on. Obviously the SharePoint development framework, client-side development, I kind of have a handle on that. I definitely have to go deeper because, when you start to apply that in a real world project, things are just not going to be readily available and easy as in most of these tutorials kind of taunt it to be, right? You're going to come against those edge cases or those special scenarios of, oh, wow, how do I do this? Like popping up dialog windows and interacting with that window where you're capturing information and then on close it populates, that type of thing, those type of scenarios you kind of have to work through, interacting with different jQuery plugins because the UI, you need a carousel UI, or you need something very slick UI, or you doing something fancy with video and, start, stop, or, playlists and all this other good stuff. The things that could potentially come along, that how do you deal with that, those different scenarios. So I have to go deep in that piece of it. But I think that one area in the development standpoint that I think I really need to get a hold of, and I think this only makes sense, and this is what Microsoft is pushing, and I don't know, maybe I'm just drinking the Kool-Aid and maybe there's not really a real business case for this, but I don't know. And to me, it's artificial intelligence, right? Because with the artificial intelligence, I think that's just going to allow you to move faster if the code right? If the application can suggest and or anticipate what your next move should be, or to help you make sense of a bunch of data, right? And I think that's the artificial intelligence piece is very interesting to me. It's very, very interesting to me because I think if you apply it right in the right scenario, then it becomes I think it becomes a game changer. Even from a competitive advantage, it becomes a real game changer, right? And something as simple as a project site. Say, for example, I have a ton of projects that I'm associated with. I'm a member of a team. One project is probably 75% of my time. The other 3 or 4 projects are the other 25%. But, I hit them every now and then. Now, artificial intelligence, just imagine this, that if you have AI against all the tasks that were assigned to you across all of these projects, and it also was integrated with your Outlook calendar and associated with meetings on your calendar and deadlines, and somehow there's a weight system on priority of the various projects. When you walk in every morning, AI would take all those data points, all those different scenarios, and then suggest to you, these are the pieces that you need to work on today, right? And then you know how we suck at estimating, right? Estimates, because there's so many things that you have to consider that sometimes I think estimates are poor part of the process, right? Especially with waterfall, where you just take concept, design, some requirements, and then from there, as an architect, you come up with a high-level plan. You put in a bunch of buffer just to make sure you cover. If you come in early, that's great. Some things you finish early, some things get completed early, but other developers may have problems on certain pieces of it. So, from a time you're able to, play that game. But just imagine if there was intelligence and say, you did something similar like this before in X project, or another team did something similar to these requirements in this project, and this was the actual, right? Not their estimate. And then that would be a suggested estimate, like, well, it may actually take you this long to complete this feature because it has this, and this, and then this, as far as the pieces that are required. Now, I think the artificial intelligence is going to be as good as the data that's provided. So obviously, we have to be diligent as far as capturing that data, capturing the details of the feature, right, and all the pieces that that it hits, our estimate, and then be diligent with providing the actual time of how long it took to implement that. But once you get those data points down, and once you have those common denominators or those Lego blocks or components in place, you can really leverage that to provide more accurate estimates, right? And with AI, the more you feed it over time, it gets that much smarter. So I really think that the artificial intelligence is going to be key, and I think those who can figure that piece out, and and it may be a separate team, right? It may be a team very similar to remember we were developing .NET solutions where you had your SQL team, and they were responsible for the queries and optimizing the data, and then as far as making sure the data was structured correctly, regardless of which application was going to hit it. It made sure that the data piece of it was structured correctly, high performing, and the right queries were in place. It was tuned and all this other good stuff. I think AI may result to that, right? It may be an AI team that says, hey, these are the data points that are required. This is a type of quality data that's really going to get you the best result. And this is how we need to fine tune the AI. But I think from a consumer, from a developer standpoint, we just have to have a better understanding of, one, how to interact with the technology, and understand that, everyone has their own spin. So Azure has its intelligent services. I believe that's the name. I know Google has its, artificial and machine learning service. IBM Watson is probably the leading API out there now, to where it's more than just, and we see this with Graph API, it's more than just conducting a search query. You tell it what it's looking for, and instead of just trying to find matches or a fancy algorithm to find matches within the index, it's considering all these other data points around that query, and actually relevance becomes artificial intelligence. So I really do think that AI is really going to be a game changer. And from a business standpoint, we're just moving so fast. So we're just in so much data, right, that we have to consider, so many data points that we have to consider, that it's not even just making a business decision, but actually helping you understand what the priority is, right? I mean, and that's why you see, like, in Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these social medias that we kind of gravitate to, that's really, a key part of our lives now, that they're constantly tweaking and adding intelligence to your news feed. Or else you would just be, I mean, if you got an update or a feed of everything on Facebook, one, the things that were important to you will be buried. Two, it would just be so much to consume. And three, you probably become disinterested over time because a lot of the information may not be relevant. So I think the artificial intelligence is key, and there's a lot of data points that that goes into that. So having a machine to crunch those and spit those out and get smarter over time is actually pretty amazing. So it's very intriguing. But anyway, I made it to the office, so I'm gonna get in here and try to add some value. But I like to, on the way in, I like to do these rants, and some of these may get posted, and some of these may stay in the Sean vault. All right, see ya. Have a good day. Take care.